Hello, my friend. Today we're talking about power moves, each type's secret strength, and building an amazing marriage. As you know, every superhero, whether you're a Marvel or DC fan, we're both over here, has a secret power, and you have one too. Your Enneagram type really helps to highlight that for you, which is the main reason I love talking about Enneagram. And today, we're unlocking that together so you can find out. Wednesday, we're going to do the same thing about how your partner's type can take you so far as well. So make sure you join for that as well. Your superpower, though, has maybe been hiding in plain sight. I saw a lot of you are newer listeners that we've had, and I thank you if you have been here for a while too. So grateful that you have been with me for the entire track or much of it. And either way, today we have some light, joyful, and deep dive moments to embrace together on this journey of unlocking these power moves for you. So, when I first learned about my type, type 7, and I'm a 749 tri type, when I really learned about these types, but particularly the joy of a 7, I really learned that I'm allowed to be joyful, that my best gift is encouraging people. And I love that. Now, yes, I need rest. I took a micro nap actually today before our jog together as a family. I'd already been to Pure Bar in the morning. I needed a nap in the middle of this big day of encouraging my family and my clients and all the rest. So I want you to balance, but know your gift as you leave this episode and don't leave it behind for anything, even though you'll need rest in between. I also, before we get started on how to unlock these power moves for your type, want to let you know that I'm going to start our episodes off with some fun things and end with some fun things this year. This is our new season 7, and I want to keep that light too, that we can switch it up. But these marriage minutes are so precious, and I want to make sure that you get some extra little nuggets as we prepare together for our episodes. So today's marriage minutes is to watch out for an almost missed it moment. And when I say almost missed it moment, it means you're right on the cusp of letting your partner or one of your kids make you better. And you have that choice to either go with it or to go away from it. I know you know what I'm talking about. It might even be a friend doing this. And you're just like, oh, like you're going to make me better, or I could just go backwards. And so we had a couple of almost missed it moments over the holiday break. We had so much social time, but we also had punctuated and planned rests in between. And part of me just wanted to say, like, I just want to implode and not keep going out because it was really making me more expansive. And yet, every time I went out, I was so glad for it. There was so much joy to share. There was so much fellowship, so much social connection. It was so good for me. And we kept up our dates, we kept up our rest, and it really was a blessing. And a friend even commented to me, I'm glad you didn't miss it because I was explaining this to her. And she said, you and Wes, like that's your glow. Everyone wants in our community to have a marriage and family like yours. And it breaks my heart that people don't feel they do because, I'm always climbing that mountain, wanting better and better too. But it's like, just a blessing to hear that. And just to think of me hiding that away is really helpful for me to process. Like I almost missed that. And then Wes had an almost missed it moment one of the nights when, of course, he was loving every social moment, soaking it up. For those who don't know Wes as well, he's an Enneagram 1 social 1. So he wants to be in a group at all times, could sleep in a pile. I've said many times on this podcast, but we had an opportunity he was going to read a chapter of Little House on the Prairie to my niece Maggie. And she's our littlest niece out of literally, there's about 20 or so kids in our family, and she's the smallest one. And she was looking for, they were watching Little House. And I was like, you guys are so cute. We could read this together. These are Grammy's favorite books that she gave me, and we've all read them many, many times. Let's start you on the Maggie. And Wes was like, yeah, I'd love to read her a chapter. I used to read her Narnia. And he just started to get tired and sort of out of sorts. And I said, even if you just read a few pages, it would be such a gift to her. And I just encouraged him, not with the social, but just sort of the one-to-one, which is his harder place. And he had an almost missed it moment too. And he just thinks back on it and what a special moment it was. Now he started to read, and within a couple minutes, she was yawning and then she fell asleep right next to him. And it was so darling. And it was kind of a boring chapter, quite honestly. I was like, okay, why did I pick that chapter? But that moment, right? That you almost missed something is so precious. So go for it this week. This is your first little tidbit that you can take away and try to catch these golden moments, even when you know they're going to stretch you a little bit, but be so good for you and loving others. And then, like I said, we got to have all these amazing moments too. So giving is a great blessing. But back to today, as we get started on thinking together about your type superpower, remember that we think about what we do together as our Enneagram glow. So if you have not heard that term before, you probably haven't been listening to this podcast long because we talk about it a lot. But basically, you and your partner have a beautiful light that you create together when you're both shining in the best of your type. So you can listen to their type today as well. But when you're consciously combining your strengths and creating that unique synergy that only you two can create, that's greater than the sum of your parts, you're glowing out there, you're shining out there. And so I want to make sure you're this powerful team together. And one partner might be like me, that 7, who's a future thinker. And then you might be with a 3 who's like, you know what? I make things happen. I am also a future thinker, but I make things happen. Or I'm a 5 and I bring depth and I bring knowledge. And the 4 is like, I also bring depth, but I bring emotional depth and authenticity. And they have emotional and intellectual richness together. So make sure you remember overall big picture, your differences are not your obstacles. They're going to be opportunities for combining superpowers, right? That's why we have the whole multiverse, because we combine superpowers, and it's just beautiful to see Doctor Strange over here with Captain America, etc. Each type brings something essential to the table. And I feel like the magic happens when you merge those strengths together. So I want you to remember, just as I have to remember, we don't do this in a box by ourselves. We do this with each other. But I want you to be that power pair. So, and before we get started, remember that we also have, for just through this Wednesday, if you're listening live in 2025 in January, we have our collective, our membership group open. If you want time with me, if you want extra podcasts all month long, make sure you go to the show notes right away and get into our membership group where we have so much more deep diving for you. But let's call ourselves just a moment to take a deep breath and allow ourselves to get really cozy now as we go through the 9 types. And you can move around as you like, but I'm going to be pretty quick with them too. So you can be thinking of your siblings, your kids that you see traits emerging, each other, and just allow yourself to roll through these with me to see, wait a minute, what am I possibly missing about my type? And what can I bring forward? And how can I notice the gifts of others? We'll do even more of that on Wednesday, as I said. But type 1s are the integrity champions, if you will. If we're thinking in the power move sort of way, they just bring such integrity. They want to learn and grow. If you're a 1 out there, it's one of my favorite things about you. Now, body types, 1s, 8s, 9s, of course, they still have a resistance. Sometimes if you give them a tip, they might need a deep breath, a pause. They might even say no at first, but ultimately they do want to grow and learn. And that is one of my favorite things. I also love how they love consistent follow through. If you're a 1, you have a built-in capacity for making meaningful improvements and caring about fairness. You have an innate ability to notice and celebrate progress, and you have a special strength of tuning love into, I would say, you tune very closely and you fine tune very well, and then you make that into action. So you may say, like Wes, I'm writing a sci-fi story and I'm going to tune it just this way, just that way with accuracy. And then I'm going to make a tangible action happen, because 1s are doers, if nothing else. So I hope that you really hang on to your gifts if you're a 1 and say, wow, I'm fair. I try to have integrity. I know how to tune for accuracy. I'm not afraid to do that and to take helpful critique. But I also feel like I can have that integrity and have fun because we all know that ones need their fun too, right? So make sure though that you celebrate your integrity and you know this about yourself and you live it out. Like me, you don't want to lose sight of your main gift. Okay, so celebrate that. Tell your family about that. Now, if you're a two, you are a heart whisperer. Oh my gosh, I love that term that I heard from a friend. And I loved, like, when Melody was a baby, I read a book called The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer. And I just love the whole concept, whether it's horses, babies, hearts. Twos, you're good at this, and you have a natural talent for creating warmth in daily moments. Oh my gosh, when Bella was here, I got the biggest hug when I had a dad memory of my dad at the end of his life. And she just gave me the biggest, warmest hug and just for so long. And I'm like, wow, you guys are so good at that. You have an intuitive understanding of unspoken needs. You have a gift for making others feel uniquely valued. Oh, I love that. You have a special ability to turn routine moments into connections. And that is what you care about more than anything. And I am so wanting to make sure you also take care of you. I just have to add that. Of course, you know, I have to do a tiny bit of coaching, just like I threw that one. Now I'm throwing in for twos. Make sure you're eating lunch, make sure you're taking care of you. Now, type three, the inspiration igniter. You guys are so good at this superhero power. You might not even know it, but you're so good at getting others on fire, up there, getting stuff going. I was chatting with the three. My sister always does this to me, but they were sharing how, like, okay, I got you going, Krista. And I'm like, yes, you did. And that is something you do for everybody that you love and care about. And I'm especially your spouse. So I really love that about you. You have a natural talent for turning relationship dreams into reality, personal dreams into reality, working harder, working smarter. You have a gift for celebrating wins, big and small. And I want you to hone that. This is my reminder to you threes is don't just say, I can only celebrate my wins. Celebrate the little progresses too. Also, you have your partnership where you try to help your partner to feel like a star. Like you're like, yes, let me pave the way for you to shine too. And you have a special strength in creating momentum in a relationship where there's always something going and doing. And that is just so healthy. That's part of the sexual instinct is shaking it up. I love that about you. Okay, type four is the depth creator. These are the beautiful superheroes out there with their power move being these depths and creatives and natural gift for making the ordinary feel special. I noticed that today on our run, Hannah was just like, oh, the beautiful sky and taking all these pictures. And we're doing that almost every day. And she's just really capturing whether we're going slow or a little quicker. She's capturing the beautiful moments. And you fours have a talent for keeping the relationship fresh and meaningful and the ability to create authentic emotional intimacy because you don't want to be like everybody else. You're like, it's going to be authentic and it's going to be ours, and we don't have to be like everyone else. You also have a special strength in maintaining the relationship's unique spark so that you know that you really do get it, that you glow in a way nobody else does. So I love it. Keep doing that and keep encouraging others in that too. The wisdom keeping fives are also a glorious manifestation of gifts. I love that you fives have such a natural gift for offering fresh perspectives on challenges. You also have a talent for keeping space for deep understanding, and you allow yourselves to dig deep. You say, I'm not going to just see a wall and look at it. I'm going to push through it, look around it, study it, dig under it. You also have that ability to see patterns and solutions because you do that, that others might miss, and a special strength in thoughtful, intentional love. And I want you to know that if you're a five, because sometimes fives can be hard on themselves and say, wait a minute, what do I bring to the relationship? And I'm reminding you and your partner, you bring a lot. Now, if you're a six, you are a loyalty legend. You have a natural gift for creating lasting trust and security. That is your power move. And it really helps in the ways that you have this talent for showing up consistently in good and hard times both. You tell people how sorry you are when they're dealing with things. You feel it with them passionately. You're a reactivity type. You also have a strength in building foundations of trust. I think partly because you have so much planning and information for people that they know, like they're going to lay it out straight. They're going to help me to know what I'm troubleshooting. They're going to help me to see ahead what could be. I just had a six yesterday remind me that it was going to be cold when my kids were going somewhere. And Wes and I were having a date, and she was like, make sure you know it's going to be cold later. And I was like, thank you so much. And my six wing, I was like, it's going to be busy later to her. So we just had each other's backs. Also, the ability to anticipate and prepare for relationship needs is so big that you're like, okay, I see this around the bend for us. Let's figure out how we might navigate that more smoothly and fluidly. So cool that you do that. Save yourself so much trouble. And of course, my reminder for you is don't prophecy something that could not happen too. You don't want to make things happen because you keep pulling them. Okay, now sevens, you know what I'm going to say here. Joy generators, you guys are so good. That's your power move, and you need to continue sharing it, like I said, with punctuated rest. You have a natural gift for bringing light into heavy moments, and hopefully you're doing that with grace and with depth too, so you're not running from your emotions. You have a talent for turning challenges into adventures. You have an ability to keep the relationship dynamic growing. And you have the positive energy is beautiful. And once you learn to embrace your depths too, there's a lot of even more depth there. I think that I get stopped a lot in public places, not just for laughter, but sometimes the depths. And maybe some of you sevens are learning that too. When I was having that moment with my niece, my husband was there, all of us were there talking about my dad. And I just let the tears flow for a moment. And I saw this guy looking at me like, oh my gosh, this lady's crying. And I was like, just the tears were flowing. I was like, no, it's okay. I was like, I'm just having a very deep moment and crying about a sad memory. And he was just like, okay. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to model that for people that we are allowed to hold joy and grief together. And I just want to remind you, sevens, that that is very powerful when you can generate joy, but you also go to those depths. Now, the eight, you are protective providers. I love how well you provide for your people. And I think that you are just absolutely that lion who wants to make sure your family, your nest is secure, and you want to protect. And you have that natural gift for creating space for vulnerability because you tell people, like, you can do this. You don't have to hide in the shadows. You are allowed to be strong and to try things. And that's vulnerable. So you're encouraging vulnerability in others in that way without even maybe realizing it. And you do that yourself too. And you have a talent for championing the relationship too, where you're like, this is our relationship. I know my dad was like that with my late mom. He's like, this is our bond. This is our eternal bond, and no one's going to break it. I know that about you. I love that about all of you eights. You also have a special strength in showing up with unwavering support for your partner if they need you, if they're in a dark, hard moment. Oh my gosh, what a joy it was that my dad never gave up on my mom with her schizophrenia. Absolutely. Just, I can't even think about, like, because there's so many heavy things with their marriage. I'm sure you're like this with your parents' marriage too. Like, so many hard things, really, really hard things, and yet so many beautiful triumphs like that. And know that holding those depths is okay to say, this person had some tragedy, this person has some gifts. And we hope that for you, you're going to have more gifts and less tragedies because you're going to be as intentional as possible. But we also know that when eights are surrounded by hard things and tragedy comes, they don't leave. They dig in and they fight harder. And I love that about you. And that's why you are a protection provider. Now, nine's the peace weaver. This is a type, as you know, who has such a natural gift for calming and making people feel the peace in stormy moments. And of course, doing your work means you also get to provide yourself peace. But you have that talent for seeing multiple perspectives with grace when you're at your best. You don't get lost in your justice fighting to the point that you lose sight of the other team, if you will. You instead try to notice outgrouping it all, and you try to celebrate the victories. And you really do maintain a steady grounding presence with others. They know they can trust you. You're not going to try to ride up past everyone. You want to be with people. You want to make sure that together we rise. And I love that about you, as well as the way you create emotional stability and allow people to be themselves and to be loved You're thoughtful of who they are and what they bring to the world, not just your bringing. And just an honor to know you nines in that way, that you care so deeply about others. And next podcast, I will start with 9 because I want you to know that I hear you when you tell me that too. Hey, we're thoughtful of others and we listen to each type, but you deserve to start too sometimes. So even though 9 comes after 1, I like to make sure sometimes I start with the 9 because you guys are so thoughtful. Now, I just want to make sure that you know that when you're in a relationship, you can bring your powers there too. So I'll give something super brief for each type about that as well. So if you're a 1, you have a natural ability for creating reliable structure in your relationship, right? You can help your partner grow through feedback. If you're a 2, you have a really good intuitive understanding of emotional needs. If you're a 3, you have a natural gift for inspiring that growth and achievement. If you're a 4, you have that excellence in keeping the romance alive. If you're a 5, you have the wisdom and perspective to offer to your partner. If you're a 6, you have excellence in preparing your future challenge for your future challenges. If you're a 7, you keep it fresh and exciting. If you're an 8, you know that you empower your partner's growth. And if you're a 9, you have the ability to mediate conflicts in the family. So make sure that you celebrate yourself, right? I did talk about your partner and your kids and your family, whoever they are, but I want you to think about yourself. And I want you to make sure that you allow yourself to notice some of the moments when you see your strengths this week. I want you to recognize when it's time to, if you will, deploy your superpower and say, okay, this is the time I'm going to shine. I've rested, or I'm going to take that courage. I'm not going to have an almost missed it moment. I'm going for it. And you can also even add in a partner appreciation practice if you'd like to as well. So, if you enjoyed hearing today's episode, make sure that you leave a review at Apple Podcast or Spotify. Also, I want to make sure that I leave you with a couple things. First, make sure you know your type isn't who you are completely. It's your unique gift to the marriage, but it's not all of who you are. So make sure you continue to grow. You heard me talk about my tri-type. If you want to learn even more about all the different ways you can grow with the Enneagram and you just want to take a master class, I am starting that teaching one on Thursday, January 30th, but it's also available by video. And I'm so excited to have you join me in there. So make sure you check out the show notes if you'd like to either by video or with me live. Really enjoy a masterclass. We're going for 12 weeks, plus we have a bonus week. And we also have an opportunity for you to become an Enneagram and Marriage certified coach at that. So some of you take this course as a masterclass to just learn everything and anything about couples with Enneagram and how to get your own marriage shining so brightly and beautifully. But you're also learning, some of you, no, I'm taking this because I want to be a coach. And that's a beautiful thing too. We have Enneagram and Marriage affiliated coaches. I would love for you to make sure that you are part of that. So as we leave the episode, just make sure that you're thinking about how you're going to take at least one thing from today's episode. It's such a joy to do this time with you, and make sure that you allow yourself a beautiful time of reflection now. I'll give you just a moment for that. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to release and think of that couple's superpower that you bring when you think about who you guys are. As you heard me say, we are that couple who is going to bring lightness and joy, and Wes is going to bring order and goodness, and together we're going to help lots of kids, right? And I hope that you are starting to get the picture on yours too. We're going to talk about your partner on Wednesday. So join me again here. Check out the show notes for everything. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.